What is up, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to the live episode of Tuffy Talk, and I am going to start out by saying I am really sorry we did not get on right at 8 o'clock. We were just having some technical difficulties on our end, and now we don't. So that is a really nice segue into what we want to talk about today. So the first, I'm just going to get off with, how are you doing today, guys? How are we doing today?
Great. Fantastic.
Better that we figured this out.
Yeah.
We missed our fearless leader, Leighton.
Master and Commander is not here today, so all the fancy music you guys hear, we don't really have that right now. So, but we're gonna roll on. We feel like we're pretty fun. Was it quadruplet? Quartet. So yeah, we feel like we're pretty good at that. So, guys, like we had a great week with NC State stuff, and you know, I think when you look back at the football game against Charleston Southern, you look back at some of the recruits we had with basketball. You saw the new ranking for Pac women's soccer come out. They're number 19. There's a lot of really fun stuff going on. And obviously the number one thing on everybody's mind is the football team right now. So they're 2-0, beat Charleston Southern 55-3 at home on a day that I thought was honestly going to be really rained out, and it wasn't. It had maybe 10 minutes of light showers throughout the game, and that was it. So I thought it was really good. So I'll go ladies first, and I'll say, Mackenzie, what were your thoughts about the game?
Well, we stayed the whole time, but it was don't leave until the guys do. But it was really fun. I think that got us back on track. I think that was a big win we needed after the ECU game. So we saw Leary go back to Leary things. We saw our offense go back to how they were. So I think it was a really big win for us.
Yeah. Michael, what were your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of what we expected, but we also expected to play better against ECU, so it was good to see us come out and dominate that one from start to finish. Like Kenzie said, Leary looked good. Back to his old ways, it seemed like. Everybody stayed healthy. Can't take too much else from this game, but it was good to see a win how we expected them to win. Yeah.
Greg, wrap it up. What were your thoughts?
In the mortal words of Denny Green, we thought who they were, right?
They are who we thought they were.
We went out and handled business. We got we covered unlike the previous week. Got out healthy. I think that's really the most important key. Got right on some things. I thought we tackled much better. It was nice to see Christopher Dunn crush a couple of field goals there for his confidence for the season. So we'll definitely need that moving forward. Devin Leary tied his school record with 6 total touchdowns, held previously by Phillip Rivers. So that's always nice to get a record, no matter who the competition is.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice get-right game for the team. I think one thing I was really happy about is nobody really got hurt. There was a moment where I saw the very last play of going into halftime, Devin Betty came running to the sideline holding his wrist. I was like, well, that would stink, but it sounds like he's fine.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I mean, we were healthy, guys, and we looked good playing the game against Charleston Southern. I was glad we didn't have to exactly see. There's fearless leader right there.
Look at that, our own account.
He ditched us today.
Rocky and Bullwinkle. Yeah, but
Big Brother's watching.
Right?
Yeah, no, man, I am I think the biggest thing for me is seeing that we have really nice options, not just with Sumo and Houston at running back, but Mims played pretty well. I even liked what DeMarcus Jones did. He looked really nice. I thought Leary got right with his arm. Some of those plays. What was the play that I think you got? Which play was it most impressive to y'all with Leary?
There are 2 that were impressive to me.
Yeah.
That one where he got out of the scramble and threw that touchdown. And then obviously him beating 5 or 6 tackles to score.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what came to my mind too. He slipped the sack and then threw I think it was 40 yards to Anthony Smith. He made a good catch.
So which one are we going with for our Derby Electric play of the week? Which one are we going?
Ooh, I think the run.
Yeah, we gotta
Think
do
the
the run.
run?
I didn't know he had it in him. I really
Well-
didn't.
Well, since we're talking about Darby Electric, let's give them a plug real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Darby Electric is our veteran-owned company. They specialize in residential work. But hey, if you don't need residential work, they do more. They also build electric vehicle car chargers. They do a ton of remodel work, commercial work, and many other types of small projects. They are located in the Triangle primarily, but they're able of going outside of the Triangle region for your needs. So go out and check them out on their website here that we have posted, and find them on Instagram, Facebook, or you know what? If you like going old school, give them a call, 919-639-0062. They're available for your call 24 hours a day. Darby Electric, we thank you for your sponsorship.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for getting that plug in for me. We're not as smooth as Leighton is on these things, but that was a nice. I think you may have taken Leighton's job reading the advertisements, Greg. That was nicely done. My friend.
That was very good.
I don't have the voice of James Earl Jones or Morgan Freeman,
Yeah.
but I did say a Holiday Inn last week.
Please call Darby Electric.
But that was a really bad impersonation. I'm going to stick to my day job. But
No kidding.
man, no. I'm looking at the grades here, Pro Football Focus, with what they grade our team out this last weekend, and across the board, everybody really played well. There's no real negatives. The average for our team for like tackling grades were low, just because we had a poor tackling game against ECU. But the lowest portion of our graded part of our game this week was pass rushing, actually. And I thought we actually looked better there. We actually were getting pressure on the quarterback. I don't know did we record any sacks? Do you guys remember if we did or not?
Yeah, I have the stats here. We did get. I know we got at least one.
It was on the Tyler Baker Williams forced fumble.
That's
that
right.
counts as a sack.
Yes,
But other than that, no. And that
Yeah.
Richard had
Yeah,
that exact question up there. Should we start worrying about lack of defensive pressure and sacks yet? I mean, I don't think so. ECU and Charleston Southern probably watched an ECU game and went with a similar strategy of just throwing the quick passes. I don't. It's not a lack of pressure. The pressure is there. It's just getting the sacks. That sack number is not there. But we have 4 picks in 2 games, which leads the ACC. So that pressure we're not getting the sacks, but it's forcing bad throws by the quarterback. So I'm not too worried about it.
And just to piggyback off of that, Coach Doran was asked that in I think one of his first press conferences of the season, after right after the game of ECU or that Monday morning after that win, and he's like, look, sacks are just a stat, like it's just a number.
Yeah.
It doesn't give the full picture to your point, Michael. 4 interceptions. I mean, would you rather have a sack or an interception? Right. I'll take the interception, right? That's a momentum changer, even though sacks are too, but you can flip a field real quick. So it hasn't bitten us in the tail yet. We're 2-0. So until it becomes a factor where we don't win a game, maybe you worry about it a little bit more at that point.
Yeah. So I guess with this, how are you guys feeling about the team through 2 games? Which is the biggest test so far has been ECU. You would argue that wasn't I think it was a bigger test people realize, but I mean, going into Texas Tech certainly going to be our toughest game, our toughest opponent yet. I would say the environment won't be as tough as playing at ECU, but you've seen some good, you've seen some bad already. What are you guys' thoughts? I guess Greg, I'll let you start since you have been kind of holding the last comment, the last few questions.
Yeah, I think this is one of those games, and Rusty mentioned it there. I think this is where the crowd at Carter Finley is going to really play into this game. That we 1,000% need the crowd to get some, false start penalties, get them out of their rhythm. Don't let them hear, audibles, whatever the case may be, because that's a good way to stop a good offense. Is the home crowd can definitely, have to wreak some havoc, if you will. But yeah, it's going to be a great test. I think our linebackers in this game, more than the first 2, are going to be very important, covering, because they throw a lot of passes to tight ends, wide receivers, and running backs. So our linebackers are going to be very active. And then with that being a mobile quarterback, we need someone to stay at home and spy. Don't let those lanes become open for the quarterback, because that really hurt us against ECU with their quarterback being the leading rusher of that game. So that's something that we need to kind of square up on.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, I'll kind of jump in here. I try to watch back that Houston Texas Tech game. Did you guys get to watch that? Anybody?
Yeah, I watched the fourth quarter and overtime.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I thought you can clearly see Texas Tech wants to throw the ball. And if you go, I went back and look at their Pro Football Focus grades and the PFF grades. They have really poor run blocking and rushing grades, but it's partly because they don't really try to or want to.
Yeah.
So they probably don't pay a whole lot of attention or time to it. But their passing grades are very strong. I thought Donovan Smith, not getting much into it, but I think with Texas Tech, they're going to be a big challenge for us. The things, I think, go back to the original question. I think with them, with NC State, what I'm most happy with at this point is everybody seems balanced. I think the rushing game, you can prove you can run the ball. I think the secondary has shown they have had good coverage ability. You already have like 2 interceptions this season, all against ECU. Or do we have some other interceptions against Charleston Southern?
2 more.
So 4 interceptions this season so far. We've had the plays by Travali Price, which was nice. A lot of the young players flashed. I thought it was nice against Charleston Southern. Whenever they seemed to turn over the ball, we made them pay for it, and that was really nice to see. The third down conversion rate was much better. It was right at 50%. Whereas against ECU, it was 30-ish.
4 of 13.
Yeah, that was not really good against ECU. So you're seeing improvements there. The biggest concern I still have is the pass rush. I feel like that's my biggest concern. I think you saw Travali Price flash there. If they can find somebody to be that pass rush guy, particularly on like third downs, that'll be big for this defense. Because right now it hasn't seen that Davin Van and Savion Jackson and
Corey Durden
they're getting pressure, but they're not getting their hands so much on the quarterback. They did. I saw they had like 10 QB hurries against Charleston Southern. That was the post-game comment I heard, but it's still a concern of mine. I mean, I think there's a lot of good there, but just that's the make. And I think nothing too. Devin Carter has not really impressed me. What do y'all think about that? He's not been targeted a lot either. I mean, so it's but to your point though, is it because he's not open, and that's why we're not targeting him? Like, is it a better job of Devin Leary not forcing the ball like he did against ECU? It was one of those games where we did throw to a lot of folks. We played a lot of people. Coach Doran mentioned that in the post game. He said that might have been the most players he's ever played in one game. We had a lot of walk-ons and third and fourth string type guys playing in that game. So if you didn't get your work in the first half, you probably didn't get it in if you were a 1 or a 2. Yeah. What are you guys, Michael, what are Kinsey, what are y'all's thoughts?
I think that, like I said earlier, I think that was a much needed win for us. And I really liked how we all saw how deep our team is. Like we have people at every position, like 3 or 4 guys deep. So I think that's huge. And I think that win is going to boost us to hope. I mean, nights in the Carter are obviously already hard. Like Carter Finley's different at nighttime. So that's obviously going to play a huge factor. But I think that win is going to help us against Texas Tech tremendously.
Yeah. And I think Russell makes a good point there. We're talking offense and defense a lot here, but I think in particular, one guy who had a great game against Charleston Southern, but didn't necessarily against ECU was Colin Smith. Yeah. I mean, kickoffs, he was kicking those things out in the end zone, and that's a really big deal. He kind of struggled against ECU. I know I was listening to the post-game radio show, and Jeff Gravely was really complimenting Colin when he was doing there. And Colin's a guy who's way good.
He had all 10 for touchbacks.
Yeah, it was 9 or 10. Yeah, something like a very high number, and did a great job. Obviously, you want to see less of Shane and more of Colin, right? Because if we see we're scoring, we're seeing more of Colin. But
But I also thought to the point, Shane did a much better job on his hang time. He had
Yes.
some really good punts that were over 4. I rewatched the game. Well, I've actually watched it twice, but the commentators definitely mentioned a couple of times where he had a couple of 4-second hang time on the punt.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that Coach Dorn really wanted to press upon in his punting game, was to get more hang time on those punts. So good job there, Shane McDonough.
Yeah. I'm curious here too. So I'm going about defense. I'm thinking about some of the comments that Dave Dorn's made. He has specifically seemed to address how talented Tyler Baker Williams has been, because that was the high. If you look at our PFF grades, the highest gradings so far, at least for Charleston Southern, was our coverage ability. So it made me kind of get to think about that. Do you guys think Tyler Baker Williams really is maybe the best defensive player on this team? What are your thoughts on that?
I think he's one of.
Yeah.
I think he's extremely underrated.
So I would be curious, so who's we can have that kind of debate. Is Drake the best? Is Tanner the best? I mean, obviously, I would think that Peyton, if he's healthy and he didn't have the injury history, if he could actually be, on the field at all times, I think he has the highest ceiling.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
I think so far this year he has been. I mean, he's got 2 picks, 1 in each game, a sack that was a forced fumble.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's definitely shown out the most so far. I mean, it's only 2 games in. Let's also keep that in mind. And the fact that he does so much, like defensive linemen, they do two things: rush the passer and stop the run. Where your linebackers and DBs do more, where they're in coverage, they're stopping the run, they're sometimes asked, depending on the scheme, to rush the quarterback. So you're typically your best defensive guys could be like your linebackers in secondary. So yeah, I think to this point he's definitely been our best player. I mean, I think Drake was probably right there behind him. But yeah.
I mean, I go ahead.
No, I was just saying no one has really showed off on the defensive line. We've been very steady there, but no one's been like you hear his name called like a lot in the game. Tyler Baker Williams is that name you hear a lot in the first couple games.
I mean, I noticed him last season, and I thought about him quietly being one of the better defensive players or players on the team we've had overall. But I think he's really going to be a guy who did not get any attention, and as he slowly plays, he could play himself into being a first, second team All AC kind of player.
Sure.
It's impressive what he can do at the nickel position. That he has hit the quarterback in both games, forced fumbles, I think, in both games, if I'm not mistaken, and he's gotten a couple of interceptions. He's really showing out, and I think it's particularly special knowing that story that he had and with what's going on with his family. For those who didn't catch that, Tyler Baker Williams' mother passed away in the offseason. So him having this success right now is kind of it's awesome to see. It's
probably bittersweet for him.
Yeah, it makes you kind of feel very very happy for him. Just kind of you feel like he's very blessed in that regard. So
Yeah.
If you're going to cheer for anyone in particular, that's a story you want to cheer for.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm reading some of his comments here. Christian saying I think Drake and Tanner are slightly more valuable.
Yeah, I would agree. Just because I think, well, I don't know. We have a lot of good backups.
Well, let's go back to Tyler Baker Williams for a second too. And the 3-5-5, because of the way the alignment is, you do ask a lot from your nickel to be that pass rush guy, to get in coverage. He's kind of like your Swiss Army knife.
Does everything,
yeah, exactly. So, I think you probably put your best guy in that position that does all of those well. And so that's probably why we're seeing him show out so much, is because, they've put him in that position to succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's an interesting debate. Is it Drake, Tanner, or Tyler Baker Williams right now? Because Drake does so much. He may not get all the plays, but he's lightning in a bottle. Tanner's like that too. I think there's a stat that I saw one of the media sites putting it that Tanner was like, when Tanner starts a game, State has like last 2 seasons like something like 16-3 or something silly.
Yeah.
So and then Braden obviously brings up as best players on the team is that Devin Leary. I mean, I'm assuming we all are agreeing Devin Leary is in that top 3 or 4 category.
I think so.
I guess we're just focusing on defense.
Tanner is one of those. Again, go back to the sharing of the stories, and it was chronicled in the ACC All Access. Tanner Ingles' story was very good. Tanner Ingles, one of those glue guys, right? He's gritty. He gets in there and mucks it up, and he'll take on a blocker. He'll go blow up a play. Yeah, he'll blow up a receiver. He loves football. Like football just comes out of his pores. Like he's just one of those guys. No, he's insane. I mean, there's a reason why they call him the Tasmanian Devil, right? I mean,
right?
That's he's just on his Twitter avatar. Yeah, I love him. Yeah.
So I guess the last question I'll ask about the football team specifically, just because we've seen what we would like to see. What are there any players you feel like that you like to see play more? What would you like to see based on what you've seen so far?
You said players.
Are there any players you'd like to see play more? I feel like for me, I'd like to see Julian Gray play more because I feel like he's very explosive when he's touched the ball so far. Heck, I'd even like to see them sometime. I don't want to say run the ball more because I feel like I want to see Leary throw the ball more. I think on some of these second downs, we need to be seeing. I would like to see Leary throwing the ball, and I think it's also kind of interesting on a side note that they had Beck up in the booth calling offensive plays.
Change. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what are you guys' thoughts about that?
Well,
but look, again, that's 2 questions, right? Who's playing like to see more, and then what your thoughts about Beck?
Yeah, so. I was thinking the same thing Christian was thinking. I liked Anthony Smith. I think he and Gray, they both can fly. That's a thing that McKinley was saying earlier is we're so loaded at like wide receiver. And there's only one football, right? So like you can't throw 2 or 3 footballs at one time to get all your receivers catches. But that's a great room. That's a good problem to have too. So I think Anthony Jones, Julian Gray, any of those wide receivers.
Jalen Coit.
Had
a
nice touchdown. Yeah. Chris Tootle had a nice catch in the end zone.
Yeah, that was really nice because I remember that was the first play after that turnover.
Yeah,
like a line to Tootle. That was really nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I think anyone in the wide receiver tight end room. Again, to your point, like you love seeing Leary throw it around the yard. I would love to see some of those guys. I just want to see us open up the playbook and just keep going downfield. I thought that was a great opportunity playing against Charleston Southern, get some of those deep routes. Some of the timing worked out. As far as Beck up in the booth, it seemed everyone thought it went really well. Coach Dorn was really happy. I guess he got tired of all the bickering between Roper and Beck as far as not seeing things. And so, you know what? Sometimes if you want the job done, you got to do it yourself. So he moved upstairs to see the field a little bit better and what the defense is given. And if the result's 55 points, I'll take it every Saturday.
Right.
For me, I always felt like that would be the better spot to be as a coordinator.
Yeah.
Even not matter if it's offense or defense, because you can see how everything's developing. I feel like on field you can only see but so much. So
right.
It sounded like, honestly, it sounded like it was like a Doran painting it in this, like we're having a conversation, and I'm sure he did, but it was more like, no, you're going to be up in the booth.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like Doran was not happy with the offense after the ECU game. And I think the advantage of being on the field is you can talk to your quarterback right there as soon as they come off the field. And talk to them right there. Yeah. But then again, like you guys were saying, it's when you get a better view. Obviously, that's the whole point of being up in the booth. And with this being Leary's second year, you can trust him a little more on the field by himself.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Someone that I'm glad to see playing more is Keon. I think he's extremely underrated.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to come as catches.
Freaking beast.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys, and I tell you, I think even after last week, he was one of the only guys to have done it so far. I think Travali earned himself some more playing time. If he can get to the quarterback and get a strip like that, even though it didn't really go his way, he showed he get to the quarterback. I feel like he should be earning some more playing time at that point. So that was nice.
I thought Delbert Mims had some nice runs too, minus the fumble. You don't want to see that, but I thought he did a nice job. In I hate to say it, mop up time, but I mean he played most of the second half, so I thought he did some nice things.
Yeah. Yep. So well, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit to more on the recruiting side of things. Before we do that, I see Christian's note there and Braden's note. Peyton Wilson going back Saturday.
Yep.
It's a big deal for NC State. Not
Battle
Cheyenne Battle's going to be back. Yeah. So you're
I'm not going to lie. I'm a little nervous for Peyton though, because every time Peyton steps on that field, I just get stressed out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but you can only do but so much. That's why we had a conversation. I think it's just really good. And you heard Doran mention it and his pre-game press conference today, how valuable Jalen Scott has been at that position. So that depth that Tony Gibson and the linebackers have developed there, that's really nice. But Jalen Scott and Peyton, those guys are going to be really good. So I want to switch here to the recruiting side of things. We had a lot of nice recruits visiting this game from different sports. We had some football recruits. We had some men's basketball recruits visiting. We had a very special women's basketball recruit. I think it was really just one that I'm aware of. But I'll start because we're on football. I will start with these recruits. And the main name that was visiting that's more pertinent to this class for 2023 is Chris Peel, the defensive back from Charlotte, and that was big having him on campus. I know for if you read up and you see some of the websites that it sounds like he's between us, Michigan, Georgia, really good names to be going up against. It sounds like he was visiting the game with the NC State commit Brandon Sissy. That was nice. I hope they can make a good relationship because that would be the number one corner in North Carolina and the number one corner in South Carolina. At least some ratings will have those like that coming to NC State. So and then that was nice. I think there's a few other guys in other classes. Like I know there's a tight end defensive lineman recruit, Gus Ritchie from the Pittsburgh area, and there's a few other recruits I'm trying to think of. I know I saw it. The game, or I thought about the game, but I'll go to basketball here, and there were two recruits that were really high priority 4-star players. There was a point guard and there was a small forward who visited this game. One was Silas Demery, 6'4" point guard, and there was Dennis Parker, who was a 6'6" small forward. Those guys are really big athletes, nationally recognized. I know Silas is a local guy. So that's something he grew up in Raleigh. That's something that's a local connection. Him. I know he's been visiting with, I think Tennessee's a name he's mentioned with Dennis. I know he has a relationship with Jarkel. We've interviewed him for those who are members. Him and Jarkel have a relationship there. So that's good to have. And then with the women's basketball team, I guess Greg or Michael, do you want to talk about who the visitor was there?
Yeah. Lacey Steele. Is that her name?
Steele, yep.
Lacey Steele, yeah, from Oklahoma. I want to say somewhere out in the flatlands of Midwest. Yeah. Really high recruited. I think she's top 50 in her class. Again, it depends on who you subscribe to, but she was in town this weekend. Took in the game. Took in a bunch of sites. All accounts, it was a good visit for her. So that's a good one to have in. And I don't know if anyone, speaking of women's basketball, did anyone see Coach Moore at the Cowboys game last night?
I saw a picture he took.
No. Was he on TV?
No, I just saw it on Twitter.
He posted a picture of the game.
Giving a shout out to Coach Moore.
Yeah, he had he was wearing his Wolfpack polo there at the game. So I'm sorry he went home a loser, but he's still a winner in my book and other things.
It's the only time Coach Moore didn't win, right?
Right.
So,
no,
but he couldn't even help it. He wasn't even.
Right.
he had no control. He probably could have called some better plays
If
out
he
there.
was calling plays, he would have won, right? So,
Yeah.
but
Anyway, I sent a funny tweet at him. I said, "I'll support you anytime, but tonight." So, sorry, flew all the way out there. Hopefully, he was out there doing some good recruiting, so it wasn't a wasteful trip for him.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of like a recruiting update there. We're really, really good spot. I've been very encouraged lately with how men's basketball in particular has been recruiting. It seemed like it's been to me personally, like a little bit of a lull perception wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the new staff, with Kareem Richardson, with Joel Justice and other coaches, those guys have really seemed to be really spreading their net wide, getting as much talent as they can. I honestly think part of it is there's going to be some playing time to offer at times. I'm not saying the other guys are bad, but there's a lot of potential. I think with Keats too, which the season's coming up, guys. It's not going to be that far
November,
off.
yeah.
We're about a month from training camp, if you will.
Right. I tell you, one thing they keep mentioning with NC State's team and with Keats is that the guards in particular keep mentioning how Keats lets them play freely and flow. And that seems to be really appealing to a lot of those players. And I hope that the Charleston Southern game, they got to see what State fans are like, even through the rain. It wasn't packed out, which I saw one guy on
Carolina.
Twitter.
Don't even entertain.
No, it was a blue check mark guy. I can't remember who it was. It was like,
I didn't see that one.
Like, do we really care if it wasn't full? I mean, there was wet rain in the forecast the whole week. Like,
the one thing
it's
I'll say
Charleston
about
Southern.
Exactly. The weather was junk. Well, forecasted to be junk. You were playing a, what is it, FCS opponent?
FCS
right?
team, yeah.
Yeah. You're a 45.5-point favorite. There were still 50 to 52,000 people there.
Yeah, I thought it was nice. I thought it was a really nice crowd for a game that was forecasted to be rain, and it's a non-Power 5 opponent. I thought it was not good. You're going to see, if that guy wants to be sarcastic, you're going to see a really nice showing at this Saturday. So I don't think you're going to have to worry about that.
Already
right? Sold out. So, but yeah, I think it's some really good things. I think kind of transitioning back into that topic there with the Texas Tech game. What is there a group you feel like that really needs to shine offensively and a group that really needs to shine defensively for NC State to come out with a victory in this game?
I think our receivers are going to have to be on their A game because Malik Dunlap transferred from State, so he kind of knows how the playbook is, kind of knows about some of our wide receivers, and he made some huge plays in the Texas Tech game against Houston this past Saturday. So I think that our receivers and tight ends are going to have to be on their game.
Yeah. Greg, Michael, what are your thoughts about? Well, actually, hold on. Ken, so on defense, do you have anybody in mind that you're thinking of? You mentioned offense, but do you have any defense, you think?
I think our D-line, I hope they can get more pressures and hopefully more sacks, but
yeah, I would say to kind of your point, you could see during that Houston Texas Tech game, Houston was really able to get some good pressure against Texas Tech's line, and their quarterback did not handle it well. I mean, like he was wrapped up really quick. He didn't come across like a guy who was really going to shake and bake on you, trying to get out of the line or out of the pocket, I should say. So I agree there. I think it's a really good point. Michael, Greg, what are your thoughts?
On defense, I mean, it's hard to pick one just because, Texas Tech, they've got that new offense coordinator. They lead the country in passing. They're going to go air raid on you. So, I mean, your whole defense has to be on point. But, yeah, I would probably say pressure, too. It's a young quarterback. Get him a little bit rattled. He threw 2 picks last week. I think at least 2, maybe 3 against Houston. yeah, kind of force them into some bad throws because there's going to be plenty of throws. So if he can get some turnovers off of those, I think that'll be a difference. And then offensively, I mean, running game, I'd like to see Demi Sumo just gonna continue to eat up those yards.
Yeah,
slimy shark.
Go ahead, Greg. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think everyone's pretty much thought what I was thinking. Here's the thing: if you get pressure on a quarterback, you can I won't say hide, but you can really help your secondary. They don't have to run with receivers and cover them as long. When a quarterback can sit back there and eat a sandwich before he throws the ball, he's going to probably find an open receiver. So. Right. I think the pressure to the quarterback is going to be key. Like you said, rattle them. Crowd noise again. Crowd noise. I hope to come out of there with no voice on Saturday. If we come out with no voice, that means we're probably going to win the game. So that's a good thing. Offensively, I'm going to say running backs as well. But let's control that clock. Let's be balanced. Let's not get ourselves in long situations where we have to get behind the sticks and rely on Devin to get an 8-yard, 10-yard, 12-yard pass to get a first down to keep drives moving. As I think if we do those things, stay balanced, keep their offense off the field. In an air raid offense, you only need 1 or 2 plays and you're down the field. So in scoring, I think we're going to have to score a lot of points. I think they're going to do their fair share of scoring. I don't think this is going to be one of those ECU type scores. I think we got to need to be in the 40s to make sure that we win this game. And even then, I know we're a 10-point favorite, but when you can throw the ball downfield, you can get points real quick.
Yeah. Southern family needs to get out of here with that comment. I don't want any bad juju going into Saturday. None of it. I mean, that's out of there.
But, yeah, I don't think this is like.
Yeah, I don't think like. We're 4-1 all time against Texas Tech, and it's been I think 2007 since the last time we played them.
It's a Power 5 opponent coming to Raleigh. I don't know. I don't see this being. I mean, if we lose, it won't be because it was a trap game or anything. It's just because Texas Tech outplayed us.
Well, yeah. Well, let me ask you this question. I'll answer you the question and include myself, but then I'll follow the question here then afterwards. But to first answer the question, the group that I think on offense that I really think needs to step up and play well. To be honest with you, I think it's just the offensive line. I think the receivers need to play well, but to me, I think if State gives Leary enough time, then he's going to be able to pick apart Texas Tech, I think, in the secondary. Now, I'm telling you what, Texas Tech has been graded out pretty well so far defensively, so they're no slouch. And I don't even have the Malik Dunlap factor in there. But I mean, I think, he's been gone for a couple years. Things have changed. But I just think that if you give Leary time, he will find a way to pick them apart. I think he's better quarterback than Donovan Smith for Texas Tech. Not saying he couldn't have a bad game but I just think he is the better quarterback. But I think defensively, and I like what you guys said, receivers and running backs too. I just think the offensive line, and you could argue the quarterback position has to play well, right, on the offensive side of the ball. But I think defense, to me, I like where McKenzie and you guys were going when you said the defensive line, but I really just think the secondary is going to have to ball out this game. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a game when they could really feature themselves. I think Tyler Baker-Williams.
That's why I'm glad Shaheem's back.
Yeah, Shaheem and Aiden White and Jakeen and Cyrus and Tanner, guys, Pierre Lewis. Yeah, which by the way, that dude he's really good. He's really good. I know people were talking about what happens if, they had a post-game radio show about Tyler Baker-Williams leaving. You don't just replace him. There's a pretty good replacement already there with Joshua Pierre-Lewis. So, but anyways, those guys in secondary, I felt they could have a game they could feast on if they want to.
Tariq, that's true.
So
the Christians.
Yeah, Drake Pitts, we haven't really said much because he's been kind of coming back from an injury. So I don't know if he's been all the way there. He's played, but he hasn't made the big play yet like Shaheem has or Tyler Baker-Williams. That's a great point, Christian, because we haven't even brought up Derek Pitt's name.
And you haven't heard Cyrus Fagan a lot either.
Right. Yeah, I know. Just to remember people, Derek Pitts, he didn't allow a touchdown at all last season. Now he did against ECU, but that's his first touchdown he's allowed his entire career here at NC State. So really good secondary play, I think, is going to be needed. You look at their passing grades; they're really good at throwing the football. They throw it a lot. I think the Donovan Smith was 40, 50 pass attempts last game.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at the highlight plays, they were chucking it down the field. So
they also played 2 overtimes too. Let's not forget that. So
that's true too.
That is true.
But that's what I think. I think our secondary is going to have to play really well. I think our offensive line is going to need to play solid. Not because I'm worried about their pass rush or anything like that. Although I do think their linebackers are the better part of their defense. I will say that.
They had one that graded out really high. I think it was a middle linebacker.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name, but we'll get into that with you guys in a preview. We'll be doing with Texas Tech. But I think now. Let me ask you this: State wins the game if what happens?
We score more points.
Okay. And that's the show. And that's the show. Guys.
I mean, I'm gonna go off and say something other than the team. I feel like this is also me telling all State fans to get their crap together and go out and be loud. I think that our fan base has to show out. I feel like Texas Tech has an extremely good fan base, so they're used to playing in very loud environments. So I think that if we can just stress them out a little bit, that'll help tremendously. So I think we have to be on our A game too.
Yeah, I think for State to win this game.
Greg, you're cuter than me.
It's the beard, Greg. It's the beard.
It is.
Yes. No, I mean I think State's going to have to. I would even you could argue if we get in a scoring range, you could argue that Chris Dunn's going to need to play well this game too because he may not be. It's a much better defense, and it's going to be. Something that if we may not be able to always finish drives, which in my opinion, if we're the 16th best team in the country, we should be able to finish drives maybe one every 3 drives or so. I would like to see that be the case. But I kind of oddly feel a little nervous about this game. I know you guys feel about being in Card Finley at night, but it is something where I'm a little nervous about it.
But we're State fans. Like I think we're always
yes, that's the way it is. Yeah.
I don't
think I've ever gone into a game confident.
Last Saturday I was pretty confident.
No,
I was pretty chill.
I was still a little shaky. I'm not even going.
No, in seriousness, NC State wins if we don't turn the ball over and we turn them over.
We don't beat ourselves, basically.
So the turnover margin is positive in NC State's favor.
Yeah. I think we get 2 to 3 turnovers, and we maybe give it over either 0 or 1 time. And then the other thing is when you get those turnovers, capitalize on them. We need touchdowns, and in at least a field goal, but touchdowns. We need to be able to shift that momentum, get those big bang plays.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point. So. You guys got any closing comments for the show before we wrap this thing up? We're going to cut a little short here. We start a little late, but what you got any thoughts? We don't have to get any predictions if you want to, but
I predict that it's going to be loud on Saturday.
I'm going to tell you what I'm pumped about.
I'm so
the lights.
Yeah.
The lights. I'm going to tell you right now, if they don't enter video, if they don't cut all the lights out and make the red banner red and the lights red, if they don't do that, I will be so disappointed in this whoever does the facility stuff, whoever does that. It would be such a missed opportunity.
I'm so excited.
And like we need, I don't know, just some kind of just intro music that that goes along with the lights. I mean, just something. Like,
Thunderstruck. Yeah. Any AC/DC would be fine.
That's always a good answer.
I mean, because that's the thing, right? If you get the crowd hyped from the beginning, and they don't sit down and they're loud the whole time, it's going to be a mess for the opposing teams, and especially this week with Texas Tech.
But if we win, guys, maybe if we win, we'll actually drop 5 more spots. You never
Right.
know. So
let's not get there.
Yeah. Let's
but
not-
anyways, I think we said this at the beginning of the season. I think all of us predicted us to win this game.
We did.
Not
No, I
arrogant,
did.
not well.
Yeah.
Some of us are a little loopy, but no, I think State can handle this game. I think they're the better team. I think Donovan Smith's an underrated quarterback. I think Texas Tech's being overlooked. They're like a fringe top 25 team. Obviously they played Houston and beat Houston really well. So, it's going to be interesting. I just don't think we need to overlook them. I don't think State is. State's just not done well against non-conference Power 5 opponents, and that's part of the reason why I feel the way I a little bit do now. But I do think we get the win.
This is a team that beat Mississippi State last year in their bowl game. Let's not forget that.
Convincingly.
Yeah. So let's not forget that. So this isn't some slouch team coming in. I mean, it's gonna be a grind for 4 quarters.
Yeah, I think that score there with Southern Family is probably a little bit closer to what I think it's going to be.
31-24.
What is the total? I know in the betting line it's a 10.5 line. What was the total?
55, I think I saw.
Oh, I take the over on that.
So they think it's going to be like a 34-24.
Like a 31-24. Yeah, 34-21, something like that. But I don't know. And
I'll tell you what, their kicker did not look great either in that game.
I don't know. I think we're talking about the high-powered offense. They only scored 20 points 27, but 20 in the regulation last week versus Houston. I think,
which is, by the way, the same conference as ECU.
I don't consider them a high-powered offense. I just consider them an offense that is going to throw the ball a lot and take deep shots a lot and get themselves they're going to take chances, right? So that's why I say State secondary is going to have an opportunity to feast if they want to.
Yeah, and not saying you in particular, but just when people hear air raid, they think a lot of points, but you have to actually execute the air raid offense to score a lot of points.
Right.
And, they only scored 20 last week against Houston. I think our defense is better than Houston.
Are you talking about in regulation? Because
in
overtime, they ended up scoring like 33, I think it was.
Yeah. It went to 2 overtimes.
Double time. Yeah. But I get what you're saying. So, they could only get 3 touchdowns in the game against Houston.
Right. So I mean, I don't know. I feel good about it. Night game. The spread is 10 points for a reason. We've won 11 games at home. It's not easy for opposing teams to come into Carter Finley and get a win. The last Power 5 team to come in was Notre Dame. We beat them.
Yeah, and remember too that game last week for Texas Tech was at home, so they had some home cooking. So it wasn't like they were on the road for that game. So they only managed that at home. So I like our chances.
I'm going to go with I'm going to go with that. I feel like a 34-24 is probably the score. It'll be 34-21. I think it's going to be right there at that line.
We hang 40.
Ooh, okay.
That would be nice.
We'll see. But hey, guys, at least you know this. We will be there at the game. At least I know I will. Greg will be there. Michael, you're in a different state, so that probably isn't happening. I think Leighton's going to be there at that game. Leighton, if you're listening, are you going to be at the game? But
I would imagine he will be.
Leighton probably is going to be there. So yeah, guys, that's a wrap for this show. We really appreciate you guys joining. Again, we are really sorry we didn't get this show started on time, but we really appreciate y'all's loyalty to the show and just being fans. Again, we're just NC State fans talking state stuff. We don't want to come across as we know it all. We want to just have an inclusive conversation here. We love having comments like you guys doing this. So looking forward to what's ahead this week. Be on the watch out. You'll see a preview coming up for Texas Tech. We're getting one of their inside writers podcast guys to interview with us and talk about Texas Tech football, fighting Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, guys, it's going to be a fun week. Really exciting week. Tailgating will be starting at 2:00.
Black uniforms.
Red lights.
Get the burgers. If you do want to do steaks, go ahead and get the steaks out. Get some barbecue. It's going to be good, guys. So, hey, that's the end wrap for the show on Tuffy Talk, the live stream show. Thank you guys so much. Please be sure to like and subscribe our channel. Share it out with your friends. Again, we just want to be able to have get Wolfpack Nation all right here just to talk about the game and different sports. So with that, guys, I want to wrap this up and go Pack, guys. Have a good week.